So look, SmashCut's a purely digital project. What makes digital media interesting to a filmmaker?
Well, I guess, filmmaking is changing a lot at the moment. Like the changes have gone ahead in the last 2 years, in particular in independent films, are massive. And a lot of the old institutions are closing down, like Miramax, for instance, is gone now, and New Line's completely changed. And a lot of the film, distribution companies that I was involved in when I first got involved in filmmaking have now completely gone. And digital seems to be the next thing, although people in the film industry are trying to work out how. And there's a big desire, but no one really seems to know exactly how it's going to happen at the moment. SmashCut, my website, was originally conceived with the idea of using dramatic content. And in fact, I got the idea when I was working with a friend making sort of like a very, very low budget webisode. And we're talking about, how do you put this webisode onto the internet, and have it actually make money, because, webisodes were appearing here and there and people were putting dramatic content, just loading it up there for free and whatnot. But, how to actually put something onto the internet and put it up in a meaningful way was an interesting conundrum. So I suddenly came up with the idea of, why not put the raw footage up there, just the actual dailies, like post the raw dailies up on the internet and allow people to create their own edits. And I guess that was sort of the initial inspiration for the site. I had this idea, I took it to Screen Australia, who are the government funding body in Australia that fund films, but they have a program there run by a guy called MIPCOM, which is called the Innovation Program, whereby they actively encourage cross-media. In other words, they were very encouraging of the concept of the film industry and the digital world coming together. And so they funded us, and also he put me in touch with Guy, and Guy's company is the Project Factory, and it was a nice little piece of serendipity, because when I met Guy, he was actually developing an online editing tool which was capable of cutting streaming video. So my idea, and I guess my contacts to gain content came together with his knowledge of the digital world and this tool that he'd already been developing. And he and I created a partnership and created this company together.
Part of it is a browser-based sort of editing tool, but there's a distribution element into it as well for filmmakers, right, for content sort of owners and movie makers and sort of even television commercial directors. How does that play out?
Well, look, I think YouTube is obviously fantastic in that it's opened up this whole new world of content to people from all over the world, and it's just fascinating. But the thing that YouTube lacks is access to really high quality raw footage, and it also obviously lacks an editing tool. So I guess the potential for this site is that it takes that YouTube element of being able to watch things from here, there, and everywhere, but gives it this completely interactive element so that you can actually go in and change all the clips and, be creative with it and do your own version. So, the only thing I guess that we're lacking at the moment is content, and, and sort of that's why we're here, is to, hopefully get our hands, or, get some interest for people, it'll hopefully spark their imaginations to, see our site as a new way of distributing their content.
This is a pure play digital project. It's a pretty big radical departure career-wise for a filmmaker. What do your mates in movie land think about what you're doing at the moment when you show it to them?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, I guess the inspiration behind the site was, when I was starting out as a filmmaker, I used to hang out at this cafe in Sydney called the Tropicana Cafe, which was full of all these young aspiring filmmakers who all had dreams about making movies, and were all talking about their scripts and their ideas and everything. And I guess that sort of spirit is what this site is potentially. What I want to try and capture with this site is that spirit just on a sort of a worldwide level, you know, so we've got, discussion rooms and everything, but, you know, the idea being that, you know, some kid in Norway sitting in his bedroom will create some amazing cut of, you know, Beyonce's new music video, you know, and then we'll be able to talk about it through the chat rooms on the site and, you know, with, you know, people all over the world, and then, you know, maybe Beyonce herself will see his cut and, you know, get him to do her next music video for her or something like that. You know, the idea is that, you know, it's about, you know, that creative talent and, you know, and that desire to create and, you know, and make films, I guess. You know, that it's that spirit that, you know, was very exciting for me when I was starting out as a filmmaker that I've tried to sort of capture in this website. Usually
at the end of interviews, you know, we talk about these sorts of things and people say, you know, what advice would you give to newcomers, into new filmmakers, filmmakers starting out now? Do you reckon if I'd asked that question a year ago and ask it today, do you reckon your answer would be different? Well, look, I think, you know, the principles of filmmaking always stay the same. You know, really good ideas are everything, you know, and people who are able to tell a story are gold. You know, but the technology is constantly changing, and embracing the new technology is obviously very important. I mean, you know, I think actual film, for instance, you know, celluloid going through a gate it's literally in its last year or two of existence. You know, the digital cameras that are, you know, now available are just incredible. So, you know, that in itself is a massive change. But, you know, to come up with a great story idea and be able to tell it well and tell it in a way that people, you know, captures their imagination is, you know, is totally separate from technology in a way. You know, it's a talent. Yeah. So, you know.